Okay, so I'm going to start now and welcome the wonderful Ellie Pennick to this panic training program session on understanding commercial galleries. So my name is Georgia Taylor Aguilar, and I'm the Exhibitions and Artist Development Curator here at the Tetley in Leeds. My pronouns are she, her, and just to describe myself, I'm a white British Hispanic woman with dark brown hair and green eyes. And Ellie is joining me here. Ellie has got brown hair also, wearing a black top, and has brown eyes. So welcome, Ellie. Now, Ellie is the director and founder of Guts Gallery. Ellie Pennick is one of the youngest gallerists navigating the art world today. And as a working class, queer northerner with no art background, Pennick's outlook on the art world is shaped by her frustrations with the arts education system and lack of opportunities available. So Pennick launched Guts to generate a fair art business model and to champion emerging artists, helping them to demand the respect and ownership that they deserve. This is super duper in line with our work at the Tetley within artist developments and really challenging and shaping the terms of engagements that artists have with us. And the really exciting thing is that Ellie's also just moved into the first kind of gallery space. Am I right, Ellie?
First space in Hackney, yeah. After being nomadic for, well, since we started. So it's a big step for us.
That's incredible. So can you just start, beyond the intro, just tell us a little bit about Guts Gallery at the moment. So what is it?
What is Guts Gallery? It's such a big question. So I actually started Guts as a project space above a pub. I was living at this pub as well, and there's a little room off the side of it. And I asked if I could start using it, and I started curating small shows, everything like that. And then I decided I wanted to move out the pub and start my own gallery, move away from the project side of it. And that's when I came up with the idea of Guts. I mean, the name is quite interesting as well. It's the guts to do something, gut feeling, etc., etc. And I looked at the business model and how art galleries operate, and I thought, how can we cut expenses? How, can we give artists a larger percentage? How can we really shake up the art world? And I based this off a lot of tech business books that I was reading, and that's kind of how Guts came about. Actually, at that point, I applied for the RCA, then I didn't get in, and that really spurred me on to push that further, because I realized there was so much inequality in the art world and not a lot was being done. So being a gobby northerner, I decided to take it upon myself to start a business with no idea what I was really doing, and I learned on the job.
That's really courageous and interesting, and I think everyone's already probably got loads of questions. So just a reminder to also put them in the chat as well. And there's a Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. But Ellie, I guess to begin with, that's quite an interesting kind of step. It's really courageous. It's really kind of gutsy, I guess, just to start with.
It was because I was so angry with the art world, and at that point I didn't have anything to lose, so I just thought, I'm just going to go for it. But when I do look back, I go, God, that it was a big step to do that, and just kind of push myself into that world with no fear. It was really strange. So looking back, I'm not sure how I did that, but I think it was just pure frustration and anger that pushed me towards that.
Yeah, so I guess kind of expanding on that then. So why was it really important for you to establish Guts? Beyond the kind of inequity, was there anything that you kind of witnessed or saw, or kind of, I guess, your experience with, the RA application, or just anything that really kind of shaped you in terms of how you established it, how you formed it, how you evidenced a need for it? What were the primary needs for really establishing Guts?
I looked at the stats of who is represented in the art world, and it was so many males still, compared to every other industry that have advanced so much. The art world is so behind with equality and representation within that world. There was not many queer artists, female artists, black artists, POC artists, and it was very straight white male, and that doesn't represent the world that we live in. And it was extremely frustrating because there's so many amazing voices that can be heard, and they weren't getting that platform. And also, I heard stories about how artists were being treated like a commodity, and I didn't like that at all. That doesn't sit well with me, and I want you to change that.
Oh yeah, I mean, one of my like real kind of pet hates is actually when like galleries kind of feel like they have some kind of ownership over artists
Yeah,
and like use it as part of their marketing strategy. Like, oh, this artist did this with us, and look at them now. And it's like, but you're really not acknowledging like all of the artist-led cultures,
yeah,
artistic communities that have actually been the forebearers in providing that stepping stone to get to you. And actually, you know, it's such like a huge jigsaw with all of the artist opportunities that are out there that actually, you know, it's
right.
not like one specific, you know, it's
Yeah,
really rarely that it's one seminal opportunity.
I agree with that completely. I mean, I think there's a power dynamic as well. When somebody can offer you money and an opportunity, they make you feel like you owe them. And for me, it's a 50-50 situation, like we're in it together. I think a lot of people don't realize about, you know, artist mental health, accessibility. There's a lot more to it. And yeah, the amount of artists that I've seen have a breakdown of the gallerists is, you know, it's unreal. And it's just quite shocking, actually.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like especially when there's like it sounds strange to say it, but when there's like really kind of significant like money involved, because a lot of like I guess more early career artists that we work with, you know, it's like really you know, significant commissions come like really few and far between, and they're often obviously really competitive. So when you are in that commercial side of it and you have got kind of also not just, you know, your person, your practice, but also there is money involved in kind of a different way, and how money operates in the commercial art world is very different to how it works with how we work with artists, say on commissions here as like a small arts charity in Leeds. But I guess I want to really come back to this power play later, because that's like really
Important.
interesting
Yeah, definitely.
and important to really like drill into these
Yeah,
like pitfalls and stuff. But I want to ask like, um, how in this way then do you see yourself as different to other commercial galleries? You know, you mentioned like mental ill health and welfare support, but do you see yourself different in comparison with other commercials this way?
definitely. And I think I know that because the eyes have told me that, which is, you know, that gives me hope with that. I do take a lower percentage. I have a code of conduct, which is on the website as well, which is what we all abide by to create a really safe space at Guts. We provide free photography, free, you know, VR, 3D scans in their studio. I mean, I've taken calls at 1 a.m. to help people out. Do you know what I mean? I pay for transport. I give them exhibition opportunities. I try and encourage them as well to work with other galleries who are starting out, to really support them and just approach the art world in a different way. I mean, I know a few people to avoid that gets, you know, passed around in the art world. Like I really nurture the artists, and I'm very lucky to have them as friends as well. I become friends with everybody that I work with, which doesn't really happen in any other industry. It would be seen as quite unprofessional, but in the art world, there is that social side to it. And I feel it's important to, you know, meet the family, meet the friends, like know about their life so I can support them in every way possible. And also, I don't do contracts with any of the artists as well. It's all verbally, word of mouth, and they've all stuck by me since the beginning with that.
Wow, that's really interesting. Okay, wow, there's so much there. Ellie.
I know that was a big sentence.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. So I guess kind of there are a few bits there that I'd like to chat about. Firstly is like you are kind of building a picture of an artist's, I guess, life and practice, and work out like how you best fit into like what they need and want at the moment, and really like adapt and flexible to that. Is that, yeah?
Definitely. Like, they come first. I always say, to everybody, I say, don't sign contracts. That's my first advice. And also put yourself first. Galleries need you more than you need them. And that's always been my advice. And I think that's helped a lot of them, them thinking like that. It's just, it's so important not to treat an artist like a commodity. That is, that's the forefront of this situation. And if you have that trust with an artist, like, that's all you need. You need trust, and you need to put time into them, and you're in it for the long run as well. It's not just like a short run trendy artist sell and go. Like, for me, it's, I want to stick by them. It's really important.
Okay, yeah, wow, okay. That's really cool. I want to ask a little bit about like why no contracts, because it's really interesting and it's really unusual, and I think that's why so for example, like, for me, like, all artists and artworks, they're like a really generous gift, like what they give to the world, and it's just like, oh my gosh, it's incredible. And I just feel like in that sense, you want to do all you can to like protect them.
Yeah.
And like, I guess it's also like making sure that they're protected, but a contract, like, I guess, isn't the only way to do that. So like, why are you interested in not working with contracts, like an assurance or an agreement letter or something?
I mean, so we do have like terms of sales with collectors, so they're covered in that respect. I actually, Sadie Coles doesn't do contracts, and I watched this Zoom interview with her, and for me it just made sense. Like, if an artist signs a contract and they're with you for a year, it's like breaking up with somebody. If if it was 2 months before the contracts and they wanted to leave, why would you carry on having those 2 months of unhappiness instead of letting them go? It should be a trust thing. And I think when you look at all the, the way the contracts are written, they're so intense, and it's loaded. It doesn't really make sense. Like, it's not accessible for the artist. They feel trapped. And if there's freedom and autonomy over themselves, then it's perfect for them. Like, who am I to put them in a contract? Don't make sense. I'm only doing it for myself, and it's not about me.
Yeah.
So if they trust me, that's enough. But if they wanted a contract to protect themselves, that's always an option for them.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, okay. I mean, talking about like artists as, this gift and being really generous, and you just also seem to be so generous in what you like support artists with, in terms of like free photography, VR scans, transport, all of these overheads that actually I have heard stories and know of people who have been spiked by these. So I guess like people must be, artists obviously would all love to work with you. So like, how do you go about representing artists? How do you approach them?
So we use the word champion instead, which again, championing is no contract. We don't use represent. I looked at the definition of representation. It was to speak on behalf of somebody. And I don't know how I could possibly speak on behalf of somebody or an artist's experiences or their culture, religion, etc., when I don't come from that. I come from a very different avenue. But so there's no contract with that. It's really chilled. It's what they want, what I can give, and then we come to an agreement verbally. That's basically it. The way I kind of just bump into people. It's really weird. Like, I found Olivia Sterling on Instagram. That's how I met Liv. Elsa, I met on Hinge, a dating app. We never went on a date, but then I loved her artwork. That was the weirdest situation. Corbin I met at a show, and then we went to the pub. Sophie and Douglas, I think I saw them on Instagram. Emmanuel, another champion artist, came to a show once, got chatting. Then I saw their Instagram and fell in love with their work. It completely depends. And it's when I meet them or I ring them and we get along and we get each other and we have the same politics and the same outlook on the art world and the world in general. And it just fits and it makes sense. I mean, at the moment, I can't champion lots of artists because we've only got a team of 3. You know, eventually when we expand, the roster will expand. And that frustrates me a little bit sometimes because I wish I could help more people, but there's only so much I can do in a week. But yeah, that's basically how I meet artists and how we interact and select people to work with.
Yeah, so I guess kind of from the beginning, it's kind of really open kind of terms of engagement. It's really kind of, yeah,
that's how I like it.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting, really cool. So I guess everyone listening, just try and see if you can bump into Ellie somewhere.
I'm always up for a chat. I'm always here.
That's
really good though. I think chatting to people face to face is always the best approach. I know that's one of the questions, but
no, but do you do many like studio visits with artists or?
Yeah, I do. I mean, a lot of the champion artists at the moment, they love their studio. They don't want to be interrupted. They'll pop in for a coffee. Like it depends on the artist and what they want. But yeah, being on studio visits where I've been there for 4 hours before, just chatting, and I'm like, oh, I got to work. Like I forgot about that. But I think now we've got a space and I've got more time, I can definitely go on more studio visits, which is something that I've missed when I've been bogged down with so much work and admin. So I'm excited for this year and getting back into doing that more.
Yeah, I mean, it must be really hard kind of internally, and maybe this is just on another non-tangent, but I guess like how would you even work out like, okay, so I can champion this many artists at one time. I know that an extra artist would add this much extra time for admin, because a lot of like my role is about 2% curating. It's just all of these other things that take up a lot of time that actually, when you go and have a studio visit with an artist, it's like, oh wow, like this is actually what I want to be doing for my job most of the time. It's like a guilty pleasure, isn't it?
It's so good. I think since employing people, like I've employed Emily, who's she does helps with all the sales and logistics. It's been a godsend, and it actually, the wage outweighs it. Like she's completely helped me have that time to do what I want to do and what I actually, started out doing. And I think it's important to take a step back and be like, don't get bogged down by so much admin. There's ways around it. But of course, that comes with money and making that income.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. So I guess, you do provide like so much for artists, like you said earlier, photography, marketing, curating shows and stuff. So like, can you talk a bit about like, all these kind of different kind of things that you do? And it's like, I guess in comparison to other commercial galleries, like, do like, for example, that a lot of times the artists might have to do their own transport? What are the certain things that actually you do that normally the industry actually doesn't do, and why it's important? So just break down all of the things that, all of these different things. I would love to hear about what's kind of you think is expected of a gallerist, really.
I mean, it depends on the gallery, but there's been some galleries I've heard of that expect you to pay for all the framing, expect the artist to pay for all the framing, the transport costs and everything. And I just think, why would you do that? Like, just pay for it. You want the artist. If you want to work with the artist that much, you will pay for that and make their life easier. But yeah, a lot of galleries don't provide that. But I think a lot of blue chip galleries do, because they've got the funds for that. So I'm not sure if it's a funding situation. It's very tricky. But for me personally, I've done the business model in a way where we'll have that money for them. So yeah, I do understand that it could be a monetary thing with some galleries, but also I think it's just a bit stingy as well. It's a fine line with it.
Yeah, I guess with blue chip galleries, you've got corporate sponsorship and loads of other membership schemes and
like,
all of that.
You've got, it's like you could sell one work and you'd be sorted for 10 years with your expenses easily. And we're at the lower end of the market, like completely, which for me is like quite mad, coming from a working class family. The money that you talk about is just silly. It's like what my mum would, earn in a year. And that can be very hard as well. There's a lot of imposter syndrome with that. But that money is needed. And, we still make profit, but it goes out for expenses. But we've tried to cut it down in a way where it's sustainable. And then everybody gets paid fairly and we can do it. So we could actually be a little bit more greedy, take a higher percentage on sales, but I've decided not to do that and just kind of ride it out. But it's working so far.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's those business books, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. We've actually got a related question in the chat by Ashley, who asks, what is a blue chip gallery? Ellie, would you be able to explain that?
Yeah, so blue chip galleries are large galleries. So you get emerging galleries. It's a really great book you need to read by Magnus Reck, who explains all about the difference between different stages of galleries. So you've got, I think it's the garage gallery, so that's like literally a project space. You've got an emerging gallery, a mid-tier gallery, and a blue chip. And you can almost see it like a class system. So imagine the blue chip as a billionaire. That's what the blue chip is. So you could be selling a Jeff Koons for millions and millions and millions. They take 50% and they're set. It's about the amount of profit they make and how they spend that. We deal with works that sell under 20K. With them, it's 60 million or something. That's the difference. And silly money.
Oh, thanks, Ellie. That's really helpful. Ashley, I hope that's answered your question. But please, put more in the questions in the chat, folks, because this is a great opportunity to chat to Ellie. So I guess with that, can we talk a little bit about commission, I guess, and I guess everywhere does it differently, but if you don't mind me asking, what kind of commission do you take and how does that differ with other kind of galleries kind of operating in the same space as you, I guess?
We take 45%, not 50. It'll never be 50 for us. But you've got to think when we're dealing with like a 15K piece of artwork, that 5% is a bit of money. So we do sacrifice that. But that is, I actually had two of the champion artists say, please take 50. Like you're doing, please take 50%. But I was like, no, it doesn't sit well with me. I'd rather take 45. But yeah, that 5% it can be a substantial amount of money. But I don't see it as a loss because I see it as, artist stability. With every artist I work with, I always say that you want your rent paid for. I want my rent paid for. It'd be nice to go for a meal every week and just be stable. Like there's no additional greed for me. It's just stability that I've always aimed for. And I definitely think that's to do with class as well and upbringing.
Yeah, I mean,
turn there, but I went on a rant.
Yeah, totally. I mean, even when dealing with these numbers, they are, well, to us, to me, they do sound like big numbers, and I think often it's like you don't know how much you can ask for or price your work until it's like you don't know what you can ask for because if you've never had something like that before, an opportunity, you've never worked in this way before, it's actually so challenging and this imposter syndrome that's so weighty to really sludge through syrup to kind of work out where to place you and your work and to be authentic to your work, but also not to kind of marginalize some audiences, but also you want to make a living, and also you want to make sure that it doesn't end up in some kind of horrible hands of maybe a horrible collector somewhere who you don't like. So it's the minefield.
I mean, the way we price our artwork, I can actually share a formula. I might have to do it after but there is a specific way to price your work where you have a multiplier number. You add the height and width, and then you get the sum of that and times it by the multiplier number, and you come up with what the artwork is priced at. And I think start lower and then you just build it up percentage wise depending on your sales, and also be very cautious of your sales too. We're very cautious because artwork can be flipped in the secondary market, and that shouldn't happen 2 years into an artist's career. It used to be 50 years, and now people are flipping artwork straight away. It completely depends though, completely depends. But pricing artwork is very difficult, but it's always best to go lower and then increase.
Okay, so just for people who might not know what that is, so what is flipping artwork, and why is it the timing important?
So flipping artwork is when, so you've got the primary market, and galleries like myself, even blue chip galleries are the primary market. So we deal artwork with emerging artists, on like mid-career artists, and then we sell to collectors and we build relationships with them, and it's a really nice experience actually. We've got a wide like roster of collectors from different backgrounds, and I do actually really enjoy them investing in artists. But you do get the occasional dealer who look at an artist like a commodity and try and figure out if they could sell their work at an auction house, so like Christie's or Phillips, etc., and Sotheby's. We had one actually go on Sotheby's from a previous gallery. It was a bit of a nightmare actually last year. And the issue is now in the modern art world is that the prices inflate so much. So a collector could buy a piece for 3,000 and sell it for 50,000. And traditionally that would happen after 40, 50 years after an artist's career. Now it's happening 2 years after that original work was sold, and it is quite concerning. So yeah, that is a massive concern actually in the art world at the moment, how quickly work's going from the primary market straight to an auction house.
Oh yeah, for sure. That must be like completely, like, yeah, demoralizing as well. It's just really, really sad.
It's so important that I have phone calls with collectors. I know who they are, what they do. I do like a background check, and I want to know that they're invested in the artist for the long term. It's not about flipping. I think it's quite cruel, and it does a lot of artists. You get a 5% royalty when work gets sold on the secondary market as well, but that's it. You only get 5%, and the collector makes a crazy profit. And I don't get it personally. I couldn't do that because I just fall in love with the artwork straight away. Like it's not nice.
Yeah, no, for sure. It should be something like you enjoy as well, just for enjoyment and to like support, yeah, and champion, exactly, you know, that amazing, amazing term. So I guess like, you know, is there any other hunches or anything you'd like to share for artists to watch out for when engaging with commercial galleries? Any like key questions that you should ask when going into something?
Well, I guess it is asking what they're paying for, what, you know, am I paying for anything? Figure out the percentages straight away. If they sell the work, know who the collector is. You've got every right to ask who the collector is. They should be transparent with that and where they're located. You need to, you know, make sure you get your invoice in, say that you're going to get paid within 30 days, or we're going to add interest. Always put that at the bottom of the invoice to make sure that you are protected. And ask around about the gallery before you work with them. You know, people always have positives and negatives of each gallery. Like, you'll always expect it. But word does get around, and I think it's important to know how a gallery or an art dealer operates so you can fully trust them. Try and build that relationship with them. It's important.
Yeah, I always encourage our artists whenever they're just like going into something new, and it's just like, oh, well, ask other artists who've worked with them, because often everyone's just so generous in like sharing hunches and just like knowledge about like who they are, what they're like, what to watch out for.
Like it's not bitchy at all. It's just facts. Like, it's an experience, and I think it's important to share those experiences to avoid any more stress with artists.
Yeah, definitely, and especially when it's just like, yeah, sharing like honest experiences, I guess.
That's
I guess like, can you give any advice to like artists who may not like consider their practices to be like as appropriate for a commercial platform. So like, you know, paintings, drawings, incredible, easier to sell, I guess, but you know, artists working in performance or moving image, and how to distribute work to make it commercially viable, I guess, as well.
There's I went to Freeze, and it was like the smaller gallery area, and there was a lot of video artwork and performance that was for sale, and I think there's definitely a shift at the moment with that. The thing is that as a gallery, you do need to have quite a bit of money behind you to be able to offer those platforms. What I have seen, which has been really refreshing, is a lot of galleries offering that platform and putting funding into video work. A lot of institutions as well, they love to work with like performers and video artists. We always have. And we know collectors who buy video work, which is really sweet and refreshing again. It's a tough one. I'm going to be honest, it's a tough one, and it's about trying to navigate that, trying to do commissions, trying to kind of aim for certain types of galleries and certain types of people who can provide that platform for you.
Okay, yeah. Oh, thanks, Ellie. And I guess kind of, I'd love to get to some people's questions in a minute, but I've got two last things that I'd love to go through. So the first is like, so finally, with all of this in mind, you know, like what would you recommend that artists do if they are looking to seek commercial representation? Like, what are a few first steps from like researching galleries or asking for studio visits? So that process.
Yeah, I mean, galleries can't respond to emails. A lot of people, you know, you can only do so much in a day, and that is really shit. And I wish I could. I reply to as many as possible, but it's not always the best approach. I think actually going to the gallery and, you know, meeting somebody face to face is always nice. Like just introducing yourself and having the guts, no pun intended, to do that. I think it should be a natural process. I think if an artist aims to be represented, it can kind of just absorb you too much. I think take every day as it goes, try and, you know, socialize and create a community within the art world, and everything happens naturally. I think the pressure to do that could be too much. You can sell artwork by yourself for as long as possible. Just try and navigate it in a way that is right for you, and representation, it'll happen naturally. Don't force it. Just be around, play the game and just be around, and invite people for studio visits, but do it in person. It's always nicer.
So I guess it's about developing like long-term relationships and going for like maybe a longer term like strategy in terms of not cringy strategy, but just, you know, developing relationships, getting to know people more personally. And then, you know, if people see you as a person, they're more likely to like invest in you as an artist and artwork as well.
Definitely. I think that's, you know, the best way forward, and a community of artists is always really nice, and yeah, it feels good. That's definitely the right approach, I would say, when approaching a gallery.
Yeah, I guess like our Panic program is really focused on like artists in Leeds City region, and so like the reason why I was so keen to like to chat to you, Ellie, is because, you know, we have got like white wall galleries and Castle Fine Art, and we've got some really kind of chain commercial basically galleries in the area, but you know, there are commercial opportunities and galleries in Leeds for like early career artists are so like few and far between, and it's so important to have like, for us to have like talent retention in Yorkshire and in the region as like a destination for artists to practice. So I guess with like geographies in mind, you know, you also come from like North Yorkshire, and I just like thinking about that regionality and how challenging it is, I guess, sometimes, and any other tips and tricks in terms of like how to, you know, kind of keep that regional thinking and that kind of nomadicness, but engage with commercial galleries.
I think it's so hard. Like the reason I came to London was for opportunity. There was no opportunity for me up north personally. And I made that leap, and it is so London centric, but there needs to be more pumped into the north in general. Do you know what I mean? It's not just like an outward situation. It's media. I know TV, they've started to do a lot more up there, which has been nice. But there has to be more pumped up there, and it is not so London centric. Something that I want to do personally is do a show up north. I think I'd be very true to myself if I did that. And, you know, I've always said if I was to open a second space, it'd have to be in Yorkshire. It'd be rude not to, do you know what I mean? What is so good though is that, you know, two of the artists that I champion were in Glasgow for ages. That relationship didn't stop. You know, we still paid for transportation. We were still there for them for everything. We work with international artists as well. You know, I think over the pandemic, you know, doing Zoom and everything, it has helped, and there does seem to be, you know, more expansion and connection, which is nice.
Yeah, oh, that's really good to know. And also, yeah, we'd welcome you back up here to do something.
Can you imagine? They would be amazing.
Yeah.
Blood and Northern Artists, I'd be very, very proud of that one.
Yeah, no, we can, yeah, definitely also share and
We should chat about
get back on that together. But yeah, basically, I just want to remind people who are watching in person as well that if you have a question, raise your hand, and my colleague Bella will get it to us as well. So yeah, please do share your questions. We do have quite a few actually. So if you don't mind, Ellie, I'm going to pass it to the folks.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool. So firstly, we've got an advice for artists on Instagram. So things to avoid or things to do with sharing your art on Instagram, because normally now it's like an alternative website, really, isn't it?
It's everything in one. That's what Instagram is. It's so scary but so good at the same time. I think keep it really professional, but then a bit of personality as well. You know, when you see, like, I don't know, it's having a balance between it, but really trying to be professional. Make sure that the captions are slick. So title, medium, size, yeah, like just make sure it's looking the part like you would with a website, but then also be true to yourself. Like whack a selfie in or something, do you know what I mean? It is the balance with it, and try and promote as many shows that you're doing. Don't put any prices anywhere. Keep your prices off there. Use hashtags, but not too many hashtags. You don't want to go too cheesy. Follow galleries, follow artists, engage with them, you know, like, comment, support other artists, and it comes back around.
Yeah, I guess that's the whole kind of model of the artist support pledge, which was obviously so popular.
Yeah.
I've heard of like this kind of, I don't know if it's true or not, but this kind of 80-20 split. So 80%, you know, work, 20 personal. And yeah, I think there are kind of different ways of doing it, but like even kind of the word professional, like, oh, it makes me cringe because, you know,
like, tell me about it.
It's like, oh my gosh, yes, like when I see an artist on Instagram, I'm like, oh yeah, you've got this, you know, this is great, you know, you've got it. And but I'm also just like, oh, but it's so like classist, ableist, like what is professional? And it has these certain like connotations, which is so like exclusionary. So but I totally see, like, just be clear with the information. I think that's the key thing.
That's the point. I think that's what I'm saying. Like, just
do
what you want, be creative with it as well. Do you know what I mean? It's your platform, but just make it clear, definitely as clear as possible. And
get to know you as well, right? Like that's really good to know you.
That's the thing. Like, I see an artwork, I love the artwork, meet the artist, or, you know, see them, and it kind of makes you connect more. So I think it is important to get that balance. Don't be too super slick. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Oh, great. Okay, so now someone's asked about if you have any tips on writing an impactful artist statement, but coincidentally, we also have a separate session as part of our Panic Together program on artist statements. So that is on the 1st of April at 2:45 p.m. and that is with Lara Eggleton, who's a writer with Corridor 8. So I would recommend going to that session for like a more in-depth But I guess for now, Ellie, do you have any kind of really short tips about when, you know, an artist statement that you look for or you like, for example?
Artist statement, third person always. Look on the Guts Gallery website, because we've got a few examples that you can go through. Keep it very concise, to the point. Don't babble too much. You know, it just, again, keeps the point. But also add your CV onto it as well. We've got you can literally just search for an artist. You can see everything that we include, and you're very welcome to use that template.
Great. Oh, thanks, Ellie. That's really generous of you as well. We've actually got so many questions flooding in. So I
can see that little thing at the bottom.
Honestly, yeah, or just the numbers keep like ramping up.
I can try and as possible.
Yeah, we're going to try and whiz through these. So what are your thoughts on like open calls, and does Guts plan on doing one?
Open calls, you get about 2,000 submissions, and I would be a shell. So I can't physically do that now, for my sanity. But any open calls that do happen, you know, go for it. It's really important to try and get your work out there in any way possible. But again, it depends on the gallery. Yeah, I think I'd be on like 8 days a week if I did an open call as well. I don't know if that could even be. It'd be too much.
Yeah, I mean, we always talk about like care and well-being for artists, but for us as well as arts workers, you know,
it's a lot. And you don't want to be working till 9 p.m. at night. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, also like just with how we've chatted today about terms of engagements for artists, you know, check, is there a fee to participate in the open call?
Not be a fee. Like, I hate that. Avoid it. Don't do a fee. It should be free. Don't even give them the money. Save your money.
Yeah, exactly. So like, just think about the terms of the open call, and make sure it's something that, you know, is comfortable for you to apply to. So the next one from Zoe. So how do you find collectors? So do you work closely with the artists and their contacts also? Is there a strategy to it, or does it tend to be just quite a natural development for artists?
Natural. I think they come to us, and it's quite funny because a few of them, you know, you've got upper class, but we've got lower, like, you know, my working class as well. We've got such a range of collectors, which is not really heard of as well as a gallery. They come to you. They're on Instagram. Follow them. Don't message them. They'd hate that. But just follow them, you know, like their content, and it happens naturally. You can't force a sale. If you force it, it doesn't work. It has to happen naturally, and they will be invested in you.
Thanks, Ellie. And I guess it's also like subjective, right? Like, you know, like some people, you know, approach me for like, I don't know, wanting a show or something. And it's just like, you know, we all have our tastes as well. And actually you might just not like someone's work. And, you know, it's not like, it's no pressure on you. Like, it's just a personal thing that actually, it's just no.
Somebody will love your work. It's all personal taste. Like, that's just life though in general, isn't it? Like, you can't get around that.
We've got a few kind of, we've got a great question here from Eleanor. So I'd probably never bump into you because I'm limited with getting out and about, but you sound like an amazing gallery to approach. I am autistic and disabled, so experience communication and access barriers. So how can autistic and disabled artists approach you if they can't maybe access many spaces or find kind of networking, communication difficult?
Ring and email me. I have a lot of experience with people with autism as well. I can try and make that as easy as possible. We've actually got an accessibility paragraph on our website as well, which, you know, that allows you to approach me however you want. That's a different kettle of fish. Do you know what I mean?
Got it. Okay. Thanks, Ellie. That's great. And yeah, just having even just like, well, we know now it's like not, you know, is it accessible or not? It's how accessible is it? It's describing everything.
It's being transparent, what you can provide. Like, if you rent a space, you know, sometimes you can't get a toilet that is wheelchair accessible, but you can do other stuff within that toilet. We have a quiet room as well that people can come into. It's just, you know, thinking a little bit outside the box and continuously learning about how to adapt to people's needs.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be a tricky one, but somehow it is. But everyone's always learning. And actually, what you've got with, say, you know, kind of newly established commercial galleries or newly established anything is that actually it's always like testing out, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, and like keep evolving. But I think like, yeah.
A lot of people, they say it's the money thing, but you can do such small things. Like we had a Instagram thread, people commenting about accessibility. And, you know, we explained we've only been here, you know, a month, and this is how, like, we're listening to people to adapt to them. But yeah, it should just be a done thing, definitely. But yeah, if you look on the visit us or contact us, it has everything there for you to have a look at.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess like another kind of barrier as well to access is, you know, not having like a formal arts background and arts education. So like someone here has asked, you know, how do you find like not having an arts background affects you in the industry in terms of like working with other galleries, curators, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so when I say background, I mean from parents. I went to like the art college and everything because it was free. So with our background, I think class, I've just had to be myself and be very unapologetic. You know, my dad's a milk canvasser, my mum was a counsellor. Like, it's just a completely different world from the people I interact with now. But it's just, yeah, it's going in and just being like, this is me. This is what I know. You know, I'm dyslexic. I can't write that well. I can't articulate myself that well. But here I am, and this is what I think.
Yeah, thanks, Ali. I think someone else has mentioned that, you know, as a disabled person's being someone's like learning experience is very exhausting. And I think that is, yeah, like so valid. And it's not down to like the individual at all. Like it's down to the environment, it's down to the context, the support, etc. And I think it's whether or not, you know, like it's not down on you to be like, sorry, not you, Ali. It's not down to the artist to be like someone, you know, having that responsibility to A, speak for a wider group of people, B, educate others. It's about, you know, us doing that work for you. And that is part of championing artists, right? It's not about speaking for anyone, like you mentioned at the beginning, Ellie, kind of circling back in terms of that representation. Yeah. I'm just going to have a look at the other question. So we've got another question about how you select the artists you work with, but I think we've kind of covered that mainly.
Just an organic situation, different platforms, from meeting at the pub to a dating app. So
yeah, for sure. Oh, cool. I think that's it. Has anyone got someone else, another question from in the room? So what advice would you give people of color who are approaching galleries? It's hard when there's little representation.
the same as, you know, you approach it the same way. You know, a lot of galleries, you know, if I had two amazing artists, and one was a person of color or a black artist, and then one was a upper class white straight male, you know, I'm gonna support somebody who traditionally has not had that representation and those opportunities. It is changing, but definitely go for the galleries who are making more of a statement and, you know, have a basic morals about who to champion or represent in the art world.
Oh wow, that's kind of seemed like a good.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard though, because I do recognize that I'm a white woman as well, so I can't fully answer that question. It's really tough, but there is a lot of POC and black run galleries as well who are so great. I can write you a list, and they're just fantastic.
I mean, like we can't help who we are, but we can help like what we do and
Yeah,
how we put our thoughts, our ideas, our action, our advocacy into the world. So I think,
and I think it's about, you know, you learn, you unlearn, you learn. There's
yeah. Oh, Ellie, that was absolutely incredible. I want to ask actually if you would be able to send me later the how the formula for how an artwork is priced at, so we can put it in the comments once this is online.
That's no problem. I can do that.
But honestly, thank you so much, Ellie, for this chat. It's been absolutely incredible. I hope everyone has found it really useful and kind of given a bit of food for thought about how to kind of explore and research commercial galleries. But Ellie, thank you so much. It's been great.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And thanks to everyone who's watched it as well.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, bye, Ellie.
Bye.
Bye.